ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Agustin. So now, thank you very much, all of you, for your testimony. I'll begin the questioning and recognize myself for 5 minutes. First of all, in Florida, Category 4 or 5 hurricanes, like Hurricane Ian or the one that I mentioned earlier, Hurricane Michael in the Panhandle area of Florida, are unfortunately not uncommon. It's not an uncommon occurrence, and I know they're forecasting that the hurricane season will be pretty heavy. Hopefully that won't happen, and God forbid, anywhere in the United States. In the immediate aftermath of a storm or in the hours leading up to one, access to AM radio can be life-saving, as you said. There may be no electricity or cell signal available. Despite being a 100-year-old technology, AM radio is still a critical way for people to get information. No one can dispute that. Ms. Span Cooper, can you talk about how you have used AM radio in critical moments to disperse public safety information?
Yes, thank you for your inquiry. And you are 110% correct. It is so important. I think we're in the middle of the country, right? And so we don't get as many tornadoes and storms as some other places have. But we had a tornado that touched down in Plainfield not long ago, right? And the important thing about AM radio, and not just alerting people of storms, it is the fact that we are there before, during, and after these storms. Think about in Florida, and I'm sure some of our AM stations serve your area the same way, Congressman. When you have things that are needed afterwards, Homeland Security, FEMA, information that people use when phones are down, when a lot of these towers come down, we are the broadcasters that's delivering that information. And so that's what makes it important. People talk about the alerts and people telling you where something is happening, we alerted you, but oftentimes when you see that on your cell phone, do you know what they're telling you? Turn on your local broadcaster. Mm-hmm. So they're leading you back to us in order for us and our team to give you the vital information that you need before, during, and after. That is why AM radio continues to be the backbone, especially in cases of emergencies, to serve these communities.
Thank you very much, and I know I don't have a lot of time, but the Chicago station that you referred to earlier,
Yes.
is that available on an FM station, the
No.
content? It's not available.
No, we are 2 AM stations, analog stations that are there. But when emergencies happens, it's important that everyone understands we are a PEP station. We have a PEP station in our market, WLS. So if something happens and the president needs to reach people, 90% of it is done through the PEP stations. Ours in Chicago, Congressman, is WLS, which sends the signals down to a station like WVON so we can reach our constituents. The country has done a wonderful job of shoring up the priority entry points, that's what they're called, for everybody to be able to reach this information. And so that is what we use. But by far, analog, carrying the message before, during, and after is where we really excel.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Agustin, your community is largely based in rural areas, and I appreciate hearing your testimony on AM's importance. Would you like to share your perspective on the reliability of AM radio, particularly in times of emergency? And you did say that some of the content is available on FM stations, but it's not far-reaching, and you're representing the Nahoto, I can't even, I'm sorry, the entire nation. So in any case, go ahead and elaborate on that if you can, please.
Thank you, Chairman. So, I mean, the emergency notification systems, whether they go out and they're produced, I think there's one critical element that's missing from that, and that's being able to communicate the actual emergency in the native language. And that's something that, you know, a lot of these stations don't have, but that's what makes AM unique because we have KTNN, which again is the voice of the Navajo Nation, and that would be able to communicate specific dangers in our native language. We're not talking about just the dangers, but we're talking about weather alerts. Growing up on the Navajo Nation, my mother used to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning on a snow day, go into the car, warm it up, and she would listen for about an hour on weather alerts because cellular reception and other things that most Americans have access to is not a reality on the Navajo Nation. We have areas that don't even have electricity or running water, let alone broadband services. So AM radio is something that people really rely on, and not everyone can afford a little radio within the stores, so they utilize what's available to them. And there was a comment mentioned that, within the 12 years or so, cars will be phasing out. Well, I don't think that really takes into account the terrain and the locality of our reservation, where we go through cars every 3 years or so because cars are not equipped to handle the terrain that we live in. Most of our roads are unpaved. We have to travel through mud. We have to travel through, and it causes additional wear and tear on vehicles. So vehicles are a lifeline. And if vehicles that are available on market don't have AM radio within them, we're setting our people up for failure and potentially causing a public safety crisis worse than it already is on the Navajo Nation.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I apologize for mispronouncing Navajo Nation.